The universe fascinates us, not least because of its infinite widths. Inside the universe, there is room for countless planets and celestial bodies, which far exceed our imagination with their gigantic number. But is the thesis of infinite space really unassailable? The discovery of the NASA space probe New Horizons and Voyager 2 could give cause to rethink the generally accepted picture of the never-ending universe. But what exactly did the spacecraft discover in the gigantic expanses of space? Together with you, we would like to get to the bottom of this interesting topic. If you like our videos, please support us with a thumbs up, subscribe to Simply Space, and look forward to the videos that will be waiting for you in the future. The edge of our solar system. In the most remote corner of our solar system, according to some experts, there is an extraordinary structure whose hypothetical existence raises great questions among astronomical experts. It is a kind of hydrogen wall, which lies at the edge of our home planetary system. Experts agree that this galactic wall could be the physical end of our ancestral solar system. In detail, the area describes the region in which the emitted energy of our sun is no longer strong enough to penetrate the mass accumulated there. As we all know, the fixed star of our planetary system is considered a galactic energy source. The rays emitted by the sun penetrate a space of many million kilometers. At the same time, the sun supplies the planets and celestial bodies within its range with urgently needed energy. However, at some point, even the powerful rays of the sun reach a spatial point at which its powers dry up. From then on, the solar system is no longer able to penetrate or push back the resident matter in the corresponding areas. This creates a visible boundary that represents the end of our solar system. On one side of this galactic boundary, the last traces of the solar wind can be observed. In the opposite area, interstellar matter, including hydrogen, is once again formed. The discoveries of the NASA space probes. The existence of such a galactic edge has been hotly debated in the scientific community for a long time. However, the technically limited means of the past did not allow to prove the scientific thesis of a solar system boundary in a comprehensible way. The NASA space probe New Horizons passed the region around Pluto about 5 years ago. Because New Horizons penetrated so deeply into the foothills of our solar system, the hopes of the experts were nourished to finally reach the ominous boundary of our planetary system in the course of the mission. And indeed, the spacecraft succeeded in proving the existence of additional ultraviolet light in the most remote corners of our solar system. For the researchers, this observation supported the thesis that a galactic wall of hydrogen could have formed in the immediate vicinity. Already the Voyager probes, which NASA sent into space at the end of the 1970s, provided comparable data. While the information collected by the New Horizons gave rise to further hot speculation, other astronomers urged caution and patience. Although the existence of the corresponding ultraviolet light is an indication not to be overlooked of the theory of the visible limit of our solar system, the data collected so far do not yet provide definitive proof. Has Voyager 2 discovered the border of our solar system? In fact, Voyager 2, which has been exploring space for more than 40 years, succeeded about 2 years ago in reaching the area that could represent the ominous edge of our solar system in detail. The data that the time-honored space probes sent to Earth showed how breathtaking the border of our planetary system really is. According to the data, the area in question is said to be an area that resembles a galactic heat inferno. Thus, the region contains huge masses of scorching hot plasma. The temperatures recorded by Voyager 2 during its flight were more than 49,000 degrees Celsius. Fortunately, the spacecraft's heat shields were strong enough to protect it from the devastating effects of these temperatures. The corresponding plasma is said to have reached the affected region via solar winds. However, Voyager 2's stay in the fascinating area also caused a major technical complication. For example, NASA reported that the space probe, which is currently located almost 18 billion kilometers away from our blue home planet, was trapped in the wall of red-hot plasma. Nevertheless, the unmanned spacecraft is still able to collect useful data and then transmit it to Earth. Does the universe really have an end? So while it's quite probable that our solar system has a visible edge, the question quickly arises whether this pattern can also be applied to the universe in general. In the past, science came to the conclusion that the universe is expanding more and more. But into which space is the universe expanding? In order to find an answer to this question, experts use various approaches. If the universe really does have a clearly defined border, one could ask oneself whether there is a point somewhere in space from which one can look at the area behind the closed universe. To make this picture a bit more tangible, it's a good idea to imagine the universe as a compact building. Is there a window or balcony within the confined house from which you can look out over the surrounding area? In all probability, this is not the case. The balloon analogy. This is justified by the so-called cosmological principle. Put simply, this means that the matter distributed in the universe always looks the same to the observer, regardless of the point of view from which he looks at it. Within the scientific community, this phenomenon is also known as isotropy. Most experts agree that our universe has an isotropic structure. The cosmological principle is based on the assumption that the laws of physics are the same throughout the universe. If one follows these explanations, the existence of a clearly defined edge of the universe can be excluded. But then how can we imagine the physical structure of our universe? In order to explain this topic in a more understandable way, astronomers often use a terrestrial comparison. Let us imagine a balloon with a small insect sitting on its surface. The little animal can now run for an infinite amount of time in any direction imaginable without ever reaching a clearly defined end of the balloon. Nevertheless, it seems to the insect that its environment is practically unlimited. Although the surface of a balloon is by no means an infinitely large object, it has no visible edges or center for the small animal. Many researchers argue that this balloon analogy can be applied to the nature of our universe. In which space does the universe expand? But how is it possible that our universe is expanding at a rapid speed, even though it has no defined boundaries? In order to get to the bottom of this question, we must first say goodbye to our earthly understanding of dimensions. When something grows on our Earth, it expands into a three-dimensional space, or in other words, outwards. By definition, however, the universe is the galactic structure that already contains everything that exists. There is no outside. In fact, the universe does not expand into a surrounding space, but the space itself becomes larger and larger. We define the area of the universe that we can see from our point of view as the observable universe. This enables us to look 46 billion light-years in every imaginable galactic direction. Everything outside this radius remains hidden from our earthly eyes. Since the universe is expanding more and more, and thus the distances between the individual objects are also increasing, we will not be able to increase the radius of the observable universe in the future either. If, contrary to all assumptions, the universe still has its own edge, we will probably never see it because of this progressive expansion. Is the universe infinite? Whether or not the universe is an infinite structure is still disputed among experts. Some researchers argue that the universe could practically wrap itself around itself in a higher dimension. This would mean that our universe is a three-dimensional space surrounded by a four-dimensional space. Should researchers one day succeed in finding 2 points on the opposite parts of the sky that are constructed in exactly the same way, this would support the thesis of a curved universe. The question of the spatial nature of our universe will occupy mankind for many generations to come and may never be solved. Did you like our video about the edge of our solar system and the nature of the universe? Then show us with a thumbs up. If you have any suggestions, proposals, or feedback, leave us a comment. Thanks so much for your interest. Take care, and we'll see you next time.